Hey everybody, David here, and today I am going to do a list of all the Superman films, Superman related or Superman solo films, from worst to best. Now, I got a request from somebody asking me to do a Batman list, but I want to save the list for Batman for next year when the Batman comes out in October of 2021. I'm saving that one because, yeah, it doesn't make sense for me to do a Batman list now and then do another one again next year with just one movie. And usually my Batman and Superman lists, I know exactly where those movies rank for me because they are somewhere on my list where I feel very confident that that's where they belong. And so I thought, why not do Superman instead? Since we don't know when a new Superman is ever going to come. It might come in 3, 4, 5 years from now. And so that's a long enough time for me to one day do a list again when a new Superman movie comes out. So let me get right into this. This is all the Superman related films from worst to best. Theatrical films, by the way. The only one that I'm not including that I know it's considered a theatrical film, but many people usually don't consider it part of these lists anyways, is Superman and the Mole Men. Yes, I have seen it, but I feel it's more like a TV episode of the George Reeves series than it is an actual film. It doesn't really feel like a film to me, so in what we feel films, especially superhero films, should be. I'll say the 1966 Batman movie feels more like a movie to me. A very long episode of the TV series, but at least there's something special about it. So let's get right into this, the Superman movies, worst to best. Starting at number 9, I have Supergirl. That's right, this is the Supergirl movie starring Helen Slater. I love Helen Slater in the role. I just feel this movie is really boring. And has no life in it. It's sad too, because like I said, I really do like Helen Slater as this character. That's why it's a joy to see her pop up in things like Smallville and Supergirl, the TV series. But this movie did not give her what she needed to be. And it's kind of sad because it could have been a really good potential spin-off franchise for the Christopher Reeve films, but unfortunately they didn't really put much effort into it. It is a little bit better. It is a little bit better made than the next film on my list, but there's a reason I have the next film on my list above this one, and I'll get to it in a few minutes. So moving on then to number 8, I have Superman 4: The Quest for Peace. Yes, this movie is a train wreck, but there is potential in this movie that I see what they were trying to do. Christopher Reeve, I know, got a story credit for this movie, and it's kind of sad because I do see the potential in the message that they were trying to do about nuclear missiles and world peace and all that. Unfortunately, the movie is a mess. When the special effects turn out to be worse than the original film, there is something wrong, especially when your movie is 10 years away from the original film. Special effects should have improved by then. But I know that the studio, Canon, which helped finance the film, they decided to cut the budget back. It really shows in the budget. And Nuclear Man, let's forget about that one. I kind of feel sad for the cast because you can know that they're still back in their characters, and it's a joy seeing Christopher Reeve and Margot Kidder playing these characters again. But yeah, you can feel that the movie suffered a lot from whoever was in charge at dealing with the behind the scenes stuff. So moving on to number 7, I have Superman 3. This is with Richard Pryor, and I'm going to be honest, I actually enjoy this one somewhat. It's an enjoyable movie to me. I think there's a couple of laughs. They're very corny laughs, but I'm okay with corny material once in a while. After all, I did watch many seasons of Power Rangers, which could be a very corny show. So seeing a movie with Richard Pryor in the lead and the jokes are more slapstick, I didn't mind it. I do like the garbage dump scene where Superman versus Clark Kent happens. To me, that's always a highlight for everybody that talks about the movie. Drunk Superman is interesting too. But yes, maybe there is a little bit too much Richard Pryor when it should be more Superman because it is a Superman movie. But I get it. Richard Pryor was a very popular comedian, so it made sense that they tried, from a studio perspective, it makes sense why they tried to push him a little bit more into the spotlight. Moving on to number 6, I have Justice League. That's right, Justice League. I like the film. It's very underwhelming. So I gotta put it here. But I don't hate the movie. Obviously, I put it above Superman 3, so that says something. But yeah, I'm hoping the Snyder Cut will deliver on what I really wanted. Because if you see the rest of my list, you might understand why I'm a little excited to see the Snyder Cut finally. Even though I was kind of moving past it and thinking we wouldn't have gotten it, I'm happy we're getting it, and I can't wait to see it. So moving on, at number 5, I have the original Superman film. That's right, from 1978, the movie that kind of started the superhero renaissance. Well, okay, there's 3 levels of where superhero movies were, right? The original Superman was the one that really started it. Batman was the one that showed how cool it could be and how much of a profit they could make, but X-Men really exploited it, and Spider-Man even blasted the doors open if X-Men didn't do that the first time around. But Superman, the movie, is a classic, obviously, for a lot of reasons. Christopher Reeve is fantastic in the role of Superman, as well as Margot Kidder. I was going to call her Margot Robbie. But yes, Margot Kidder is fantastic as Lois Lane, and so is, Gene Hackman is not my favorite Lex Luthor, but I think he was good for the time that he played that character. I like the more modern version of the character, where Smallville kind of portrayed that version of the character, the more modern version. What was the other? John Cryer is kind of playing that version as well, the more modern type, the businessman type, and as well as Superman the Animated Series. I think that was the one that really introduced me to that version, the billionaire playboy. I guess Lois and Clark kind of did it first, but it was Superman the Animated Series that really made me pay attention more to that character and appreciate him a lot more. The Gene Hackman version is a criminal mastermind. I think the billionaire playboy makes it, who's in power, makes it a lot more interesting to me. So, moving on, Superman 2. That's right. The Superman 2, I actually prefer more than the original Superman movie, which is funny. I know a lot of people say Superman 1 is the best. There are some people that are Superman 2 supporters as well. I do like General Zod and Ursa and Non. I think they are a more threatening bunch of villains than Lex, and that's what makes the movie interesting. Plus, you see him dealing with his powers aspect and wondering should he give them up to live a life with Lois Lane. I actually do think the story's a lot better. The villains are better. This movie definitely does take a step up. I will also say to check out the Donner cut if you're wondering which version do I prefer, the theatrical version or the Donner cut version. I actually like the Donner cut version a little bit more. I do like the Marlon Brando scenes. I think they do add a little bit more weight to them seeing Marlon Brando there. There's a reason they hired Marlon Brando because of how popular he was as an actor and how much weight he could bring to a movie. So, and I think those scenes between him and Superman and Jor-El are some really cool moments in this movie. Especially, there's one scene where Superman decides to give up his powers, which is in the original version, but Jor-El gives Lois a creepy stare like, this is your fault. And I thought it was really cool. So I would say check out the Donner cut if you could. So moving on to my third favorite Superman film is Superman Returns. This was my favorite Superman movie when it came out. I loved it. I still think it's an underrated movie. It's been a while since I have seen it, I'll admit. But the last time I did see it, when Batman v Superman came out in theaters, I did have a Batman-Superman marathon. To me, it still held up. I really do like Brendan Routh as that character. I was excited to see him in Crisis on Infinite Earths, on the Arrowverse. And I do like the rest of the cast too. I know a lot of people give Kate Bosworth a lot of hate, but I think she actually did pretty well as Lois Lane in the movie. And I really did like Frank Langella as Perry White and Sam Huntington as Jimmy Olsen. And look, Kevin Spacey, I know, is a terrible man right now, but for what he was in that movie, he was a good follow up to Gene Hackman. So I'll leave it at that. And who gives a shit about Bryan Singer? Moving on to my second favorite Superman film is Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice at number 2. Yeah, I really like this movie a lot, and it makes me sad whenever I hear people talk down at it just because it's a really dark movie. I don't mind if movies are dark or light. That doesn't matter to me. My favorite movie of all time, I guess, right now is Avengers Endgame, which is probably... It's a pretty dark film, too, with some dark elements. Not as dark as this, though. This is definitely like the anti-Avengers, if you will. But I like it. I think it's a cool tone. In Batman, you need to have a dark movie for Batman. Batman's a dark character, and so when Batman's pissed, the movie's going to be dark. And when you have him pissed off at Superman, Superman better watch out. I do love Henry Cavill as this character, though, so I did like seeing him and Ben Affleck interact whenever they did. And I thought both characters were... Look, Batman is given more time in the theatrical version, and it's fair because Henry Cavill did get his own movie before this, so giving a little bit more to Batman in the theatrical version made a little bit more sense. But if you watch the extended cut, the director's cut, the Snyder cut, if you will, yes, he does have a lot more Clark Kent stuff in that movie. And if you want to see more Superman, check out the director's cut because Henry Cavill gets a lot more scenes added to that, more reporting, which is what he should have been doing anyways. He's a reporter, right? So there you go. And finally, if you haven't guessed it already, my number 1 favorite Superman movie is Man of Steel. Yes, Man of Steel, the one that brought Superman back. I was super excited about this movie. I was crushed when it was getting mixed reviews on the opening night when I was going to go see it, but I was happy when I watched it and loved it and couldn't understand why people hated it or had mixed reactions to it. And I know now that lots of people didn't like how dark it was and serious it was. I know there have been people coming on board with it nowadays, which is really cool. But Man of Steel, to me, is the perfect Superman movie. It gives Superman a fantastic origin that doesn't feel like it's been done before. Even though it has been done many times, it feels fresh enough with its grounded take that I think helps separate itself from the Donner cut, or the Donner version from 1978, and any other version for that matter too, right? But for me, I think the score is also a great score, and obviously the John Williams score from the original Superman movie is a fantastic score as well. But I really like the Hans Zimmer score just as much in a different way. So I can have both scores back to back if I can. So with that being said, guys, look. Oh, and before I finish, I have to talk about General Zod. Zod in Man of Steel is, to me, the best DCEU character so far still. Now there has been a couple of rivals. I think Ares was okay. I don't know why lots of people didn't like Ares that much. But I also liked in Shazam, what's his name, Dr. Savannah. I thought he was a good villain too. So I think DC is going to have some better villains going down the road, hopefully. I thought Ewan McGregor was also great in Birds of Prey, but to me, Michael Shannon as Zod is still the best villain. I think he was even better than Terrence Stamp. Terrence Stamp was great for his time, just like Gene Hackman, but Michael Shannon is on par with Henry Cavill to me in this movie. They both really knock it out of the park. So, and that's why I'm excited to see the Snyder Cut version. As you can see, my top two films, Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, back to back, are my top two favorite Superman movies. Yeah, I can't wait. So, with that being said, guys, I hope you comment below and tell me your lists of your favorite Superman movies from worst to best or best to worst, whichever way you think fits you. And with that being said, until next time, take care.